mighty ocean. Your eyes see everything. The slightest of your motions can make the continents ring. Yet in all your might and glory, you vanished from the skies, leaving just another story amidst millions of man-made lies. They tell of how you fell from the sky.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Free American Hour. I'm your host, Clay Douglas. My guest today will be Debbie Lewis. She's the wife of William Lewis, who's the producer of Camp FEMA. I've got a lot of things I want to talk to her about, but before I do that, I want to clear up a little bit of confusion. You know, some people are wondering, frankly, they're wondering if I'm sane or whatever, because I ride a Harley Davidson with two black and white Harley riding Chihuahuas. They got over 3,000 miles on the last 3 months, and I just feel the need to kind of explain to people about that. You know, there's a reason that I have dogs and not wives. The later you are, the more excited your dogs are to see you. Dogs don't notice if you call them by another dog's name. Dogs like it if you leave a lot of things on the floor. A dog's parents never visit. Dogs agree that you have to raise your voice in order to get your point across. You never have to wait for a dog. They're ready to go 24 hours a day. Dogs find you amusing when you're drunk. Dogs like to go hunting and fishing. A dog will not wake you up at night to ask, if I died, would you get another dog? And if a dog has babies, you can put an ad in the paper and give them away. All right. Hello, Debbie.
Well, hello.
Oh, yeah, well, I forgot one other. A dog will let you put a studded collar on it without calling you a pervert.
And such a colorful opening.
to welcome the wife of William Lewis. Now William Lewis has put out a lot of great films. Washington, You're Fired is one, but more recently you've come out with the story of FEMA, Camp FEMA.
Right.
And 8 years ago, I did a film called The True Face of FEMA. I filmed the first Homeland Security meeting. Colonel John Brinkerhoff was lecturing law enforcement in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And he told them, we're going to be in for a long war. Now, this is right after FEMA was rolled into Homeland Security. Now, we've been telling people for years in the Free American Magazine, on my radio show, that FEMA was a little bit more than an emergency management thing. It was put in by presidential order, executive order, and in the lecture that Colonel Brinkerhoff got, that's included in my film, True Face of FEMA, we're in for a long war. It may be longer than the Cold War, and the enemy's weak. The enemy's weak. They don't have, in other words, they don't have rockets, they don't have missiles, they don't have helicopters. And I don't think he was talking about the Palestinians. I think he was talking about us. I think he was talking about the American people. Now,
well, I'll tell you, you're probably right.
And we got to, in case of a, he says, in case of a single outbreak of smallpox. He also mentioned the New Madrid fault line up in runs right up the Mississippi River. Mm-hmm. And we've had bird deaths, we've had fish deaths, we've had earthquakes right up there in Arkansas, right in the middle of it, recently. And now, he also mentioned, in case of a single outbreak of smallpox in a major metropolitan area, we'll need 400,000 well-armed, well-trained, organized, disciplined troops to control the American people, because some of them just won't follow orders. And I take that to mean that some of us won't line up on the Kmart parking lot, the Walmart parking lot, to get our shots or get our vaccines. And if we refuse, they could actually arrest us. And now that's covered in William's film, isn't it? You can talk about
Yes, it is actually. We have two films. We have Camp FEMA American Lockdown, which is more of a history, and then you've got Enemy of the State Camp FEMA Part 2. And in Enemy of the State Camp FEMA Part 2, we talked to a fellow who was part of the police force in southeast Missouri, and he had the distinct opportunity to participate in a Department of Homeland Security exercise where he was trained to go door to door in case of chemical or biological warfare, and to disarm the inhabitants of the dwelling, to remove them by force if necessary to a waiting bus, to be taken to a predetermined quarantine area where they will be forcibly stripped down if necessary. They will be asked to strip down first. If they are not willing to strip down, they will be forcibly stripped down, decontaminated, given new clothing, and vaccinated at the end, where they will either stay at this predetermined location or go to a more fixed location. Now, this is an exercise that he actually participated in. And so it's not like it's something out of somebody's mind. It's already been done. They have already been trained to do it. And one of the things, well, there were several disturbing things to him, but one of the major things that was disturbing to him was that, number one, we're going to disarm American citizens by force, even lethal, if necessary.
Now, they did that in New Orleans, and we still got people missing in New Orleans. The people that were put in the FEMA trailers there are dying. They're getting cancer. They're getting ill because those trailers are contaminated.
Correct.
And according to Cynthia McKinney, there were hundreds of residents of New Orleans that were simply taken out in the swamp and shot.
Really? Well, I did not hear about that, but I did hear, number one, that the FEMA trailers were very contaminated. They actually didn't use quite a number of them. Several hundreds, maybe 1,000, were not even used. I don't remember the number. And I know they were distributed later, and people were getting sick because they were contaminated. Which, if people remember, way back when, the Indians were contaminated by the government because they were issued blankets during some sort of crisis that were smallpox filled.
By the way, let me just stop you right there for just a second, because Colonel John Brinkeroff with FEMA mentioned specifically smallpox in case of a single outbreak of smallpox in a major metropolitan area, or an earthquake like or a nuclear attack. We'll need 400,000 well-armed, well-trained, organized, disciplined troops to control the American people, because some of them just won't follow orders. Colonel, are you talking about the National Guard? No. They're too expensive. Besides, they're going to be in Afghanistan or Iraq or Iran or someplace. No, we need a cheap source of well-armed, well-trained, organized, disciplined troops.
Right. And so, you know, while people are walking around, you know, people contact us all the time. Oh, that's a bunch of baloney. Well, you know, we've talked to people. You've talked to people. You know what the training has been like. You know what they've done. And not only that, as far as precedences go, you know, if you want to cite a precedent for deterring American citizens, it's already happened in World War II. Two-thirds of the people moved out of their homes into war relocation camps during World War II were American citizens. Two-thirds of them. So don't say it can't happen here, because it already has. And if you're wondering about anything else, I mean, one of the things they bring up in Camp FEMA Part 2 and Enemy of the State, Catherine Albrecht talks about the possibility of locking down cities. Well, they've already done that too.
They
did that in New Orleans.
I have said that if you live in a city, major metropolitan area, this is what FEMA is concentrating on, you're already, and you're in the ghettos, you're in a concentration camp, you are in a police state in the cities right now.
Well, that's a good assessment, I would say.
Let me play a little clip from Enemy of the State, the trailer. We've got a few people that come up here. Michael Badnerick, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that way. He was the 2004 presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party.
It's raining. Everybody run inside Walmart so that you can keep dry. And then once you get in, you slam the gates closed. Now everybody's locked inside.
Now, Walmart parking lots.
Once he declares an emergency, he can.
Walmart parking lots have been implemented with basically guard towers. These are little booths that you can raise up, so they could actually turn a Walmart parking lot into one of these. And they're already trying to sell vaccines. Have you got your vaccines yet?
Yeah.
Frankly, I've never had a flu shot, and I've never had the flu, so maybe that's just a coincidence. Let me play just a little bit more now. Judge Andrew Napolitano he's one of the speakers here. Judge Napolitano, it's just amazing to me that they're even allowing him on the air, because he's shooting real straight with people. Let's see what he's got to say about this. And this is clips, folks, from Enemy of the State trailers. Now, all of these clips, all of these are linked right there to this show next to Debbie on my website. So check this out.
Non-healthcare licensed personnel, read that to me, police, to vaccinate people against their will. Now, can they force adults to take vaccination? No. They will incarcerate adults without a trial, without charges, without even a search warrant, who refuse to be vaccinated.
That allowed for Americans to be secretly rounded up with no trial and secretly even executed.
They say, but we want to stop these things before they happen. But at the same time, the question has to be asked, are they planting seeds in people's minds that these things could develop when really there's no likelihood that any of this is going to happen?
All right, just a little clip there from Enemy of the State trailer.
And let me point out, the last voice you heard on that clip is John Acosta from CNN. And CNN, along with the Southern Poverty Law Center, went on a major defensive when we released Camp FEMA. And that was from an interview or a piece that he did with CNN to kind of dispel what's going on with the Camp FEMA business. Because he's saying, oh, there's no precedent, there's none of this is actually happening. None of this is actually going on. Yet, we know that it is. And CNN and, of course, the Southern Poverty Law Center are misleading the public there.
That's right. That's right. These, matter of fact, somebody in one of the chat rooms put up the YouTube video of the mobile guard towers.
Right. Exactly. And those can go anywhere. So, don't say it can't happen here. Number one, it's already happened. They've already interned American citizens, and they've already locked down a city. So don't think it can't happen, because it can.
Now, I've just put a new video up on the site. There, the Colonel Brinkeroff in my video mentions the New Madrid fault line. We've had birds dying, fish dying over there, and that's at the end of that fault line is where that oil volcano was.
Mm-hmm. And of course, the disturbances, the first large major report of fish dying and birds falling out of the sky in Arkansas, in Beebe, Arkansas. Beebe, Arkansas is very close to that New Madrid fault line.
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm. So, no, that's just something to keep in mind. You got to wonder. Now, somebody suggests that they're testing HARP weapons over there, because there's an exercise coming up shortly, and I believe it's May 2011, where they are going to do an exercise along the New Madrid fault there.
That's
and
right.
somebody needs to pay attention to that, because
Every time they have a little exercise like this, like the last one they had in 9/11.
Yep.
And by the way, there was a report. FEMA came up on the air and in an interview and said that they had arrived in New York on September 10th.
Correct. That is true. Yep.
Now, I have been demonized by the ADL and Southern Poverty Law for 20 years now. Threatened by the CIA 25 years ago when I blew the whistle on George Bush's little drug running caper called Operation Watchtower. And Southern Poverty Law listed me in false patriots when I was working with Charles Collins as a candidate for president. Yeah, ADL has put me in armed and dangerous when I helped start the militias around the country, and they just recently listed me in in the NAACP, trying to say I'm a bigot and anti-Semite and all that. And see, Clay started the militias. He was in the militia. He was in the militia. Well, what part of the Second Amendment don't you folks understand?
Exactly.
But it's still almost a mystery to me why the ADL even started with me in the first place. Yes, I did help start the militia, so I can't sue anybody for that. But the militia is every able-bodied American male between the ages of 18 and 45.
Correct.
So, and I certainly haven't done anything wrong. I can walk into the FBI office in Albuquerque, and they go, "Oh, hi, Clay," and I walk back out again. There's no... by the way, the reason I was walking into the FBI office was because I had received over $1 million 2 years ago in hot checks. Yeah, that's probably those scammers in Nigeria, Clay. Nothing we can do about it. We don't have an extradition treaty in Nigeria with Nigeria. But you've done everything right. Yeah, I've done everything right. Why have 5 of my bank accounts been closed down because I deposited a hot check? I don't know any other way to find out if a check's good, other than depositing it. Why would I be penalized for that?
Exactly.
Because it was an intelligence operation designed to close my businesses down. Have you experienced that kind of harassment? I mean, I had one of my magazines, had nothing to do with politics, just motorcycle magazine. I had one of my magazines sold about $500,000. They put a press release out that they bought, a publicly traded company had bought the Arizona's premier motorcycle magazine. That was on Friday. Monday I walked in, the CEO is white and shaking. Clay, I can't go through with it. I can't go through with it. They've contacted every stockholder in the company, told them what a right-wing radical anti-Semite you are, and we can't do anything. Why were they attacking me? Why? I haven't done anything wrong. I haven't done. I'm not a criminal. I've been broadcasting for 20 years. Why would these people be attacking me? Why would the Jewish groups be attacking me?
I don't even know. We don't have, we haven't had that kind of problem. We have the problem that almost every time since we released One Nation Under Siege, after that, every time we release a new film, something happens to our email for 2 weeks prior. Of course, that's how we let people know we have a new film out, too. And with the Camp FEMA, the first one, was it Camp FEMA? I believe it was. Camp FEMA American Lockdown, somebody sent our email account, and it's a private email account, somebody sent our email account what they call an email bomb, which opens exponentially, and it took us a week to be able to get our email back because they had to go through our emails one at a time, and it took them a week to do it, to delete and get rid of, because they were opening hundreds of times at a time. It's amazing what, the things they can do. And of course that was just a little inconvenient, and we had to have we had problems with promotions at that point, but good thing for us, we promote ahead of time. We've had them take down our entire websites. Somebody will just come in and hack it and take the whole thing down. I don't know if they think we're stupid or what, but you know, I keep backups on backups. So
now they have done that to me when I got out of the hospital. I was trying to get everything put back together again, and I was kept unconscious for 3 months, induced coma. Oh, he has a severe brain injury. We've got to do this. I don't think so. I don't think it was necessary, but they after I got out, I've had my Free American website up for 15 years, at least. And somebody bought the ISP up in Oregon that was handling my website. They bought it. They ran it for about 2 months, shut it down, locked it down, and suddenly I couldn't access my website. For 2 months I couldn't, and finally the owner, the former owner, called me and told me he sold it to a company, and they took it over and didn't pay for it, closed it all down, locked it up, stole all the equipment, and he gave me the keys to reopen my website, and that's the only reason I got it open today.
wow.
So, you know, I a few years back, I trying to find an answer for all of this, everything that's going on. You know, what can we do? What can we really do? I came up with the idea of Liberty Villages, which is basically a small farm or ranch. That's, you know, you open it up to the veterans, to people that want to come there and live and work and grow your own food and produce your own energy. And the attacks on me started again. I mean, that was right after I had a centerfold ad in the Free American that the accident happened.
Oh wow!
And they just don't want they don't want answers. They want you in the city, and these FEMA camps that we're talking about here, they were paid $350 million. Brown and Root were paid $350 million to refurbish these detention centers. Now they according to the news releases, you would think that's for illegal aliens. Any influx of a major influx of illegal aliens, we can move them there.
Of course, too, to make it look legal, they do use them for illegal aliens, for processing centers. Some of them are used for processing centers for now. But if you look at, there are things you can look at to know what is going on. You can look at Army Regulation 210-35. You know, that's one of the things that I think that if John Acosta and CNN would have looked at, they would have realized, oh, wait, we might need to think about that, you know. And Army Regulation 210-35 was put into effect during Ronald Reagan's era, and it's called the Civilian Inmate Labor Program. Yeah, it was declassified by Clinton in 1997. And basically what it does is it puts prisons or labor programs on Army facilities. And so you now have free labor to the Army. Well, you know what? That happened before too. You know when that happened? Again, during World War II. The 2/3 of the American citizens and the 1/3 of the non-American citizens were forced into labor for the Army during World War II. There are precedences. It's already happened. And not only that, but we had a man contact me from Fort A.P. Hill, and he said he was stationed there. They would go on drills, and they would march in a remote area of A.P. Hill, and he and several of the members of his unit noticed that there was a huge prison facility at A.P. Hill. Huge. It was empty, deserted, but it was there. And he said at the time he didn't know anything about FEMA. But he and his buddies talked about it because it was so huge. And when he got out of the Army later, he heard about FEMA and also that A.P. Hill is a FEMA location. for a FEMA camp, and he put 2 and 2 together, and he contacted us, and he said, you know what? He said, the thing is huge. And it's not the only one in the country. There are 800 possible locations, over 800 possible locations in the country.
Now, if they, right after the news came out that they had done this, that they had built the camps, they it just sort of disappeared. I mean, suddenly nobody was talking about it anymore.
Well, of course not, because now you've got people coming up with information.
Database has been updated.
Sorry about that.
Oh, now you've got people coming up with information and coming up with uses and coming up with what exactly is going on. You know, one of the things that they point out in Camp FEMA Part 1 is FEMA's directives. What are FEMA's directives? National Emergency Recovery, continuity of government, combating perceived threats to the existing social and political order. Those are FEMA directives. Now, does that, you know, the first one is what it's supposed to be, National Emergency Recovery. What's the second one? Continuity of government? What is continuity of government? That's making sure the government is still in place in the case of an emergency. But it has disturbed several senators, and several representatives, to the point that Pete DeFazio, a Democrat in Oregon now, Pete DeFazio came out and he said specifically, this is a quote from Pete DeFazio, "Oh, they have such a plan. They introduced a little sketchy public version that's clearly inadequate and doesn't tell us what they have in mind. But they say, don't worry, there's a detailed classified version." But he cannot, he's on the Department of Homeland Security Committee, and so is Benny Thompson, who is the head of the Department of Homeland Security Committee in the House. Neither one of them on that committee, no one on the Homeland Security Committee has even seen the directive.
Now, right after this came up, I just recall the point I was going to, right after this whole news about these FEMA camps came out, or the detention centers that Brown and Root were building, they were talking about over 500,000 illegal aliens were protesting in the streets of LA, demanding their rights. And wait a minute, not one of them was picked up by ICE. Why is that?
No reason to at that point. You know, what would be the political motive for picking them up? They're stirring up trouble. Of course, that's what we're supposed to be protected from. Yet they don't do the job. I mean, if this doesn't tell you that federal agencies are egregious, I'm not sure what can tell you that. I mean, you had, just like you said, you had illegal aliens marching in the streets of LA. Did ICE go down there? Did anybody go down there and take care of that? No. You know? No. It's just, I mean, are they trying to build sympathy for the illegal aliens? I don't know. But you've got to wonder, because you know, these are the things that make you say, or should make you say, what are they doing? You know, this is one of the reasons why Arizona had to take the steps they did to protect their borders. You know, and the president says, well, we're going to sue Arizona, we're going to sue Jan Brewer, we're going to sue blah, blah, blah. They can't do that because this is up to our department. Well, the executive branch and Congress are not doing their job. We already have laws on the books to take care of the illegal immigration situation, yet they will not enforce or enact them. They just want new legislation. Well, that's not what America's all about. And no one's saying, you know, this is the other point of that, no one's saying that people can't come from other countries to the United States of America? Heavens no. And I'll even go so far as to say, okay, let's just say that you are trying to get away from a major oppressive government, and they have threatened your life, and you come into the United States illegally. Okay, let's just say that's a scenario. I would